Wait, putang ina, nag-CR lang ako. Bakit tapos na yung Smasher Pass? Hello, anyway, magindarang araw. Maya magindar, cannibal, mermaid, VTuber. Natapos agad yung Smash or Pass habang umiinom ako ng tubig, nag-CR, nagpre-prepare for stream, naglalaro ng Monhan, pinapatay si Velcana. Anyway, welcome. Today, we're going to read a lot of folklore about Diwata and engkanto, which at some point became interchangeable terms, pero promise may difference siya early on. Okay lang ba yung audio? Is everything okay muna? Yeah. So like, meron ako sources ngayon of books na pinagkuhanan ko ng info na to. You can access it. I can type, hindi ako uminom ng gin. You can access it through the sources command. Our books are Diccionario Mitológico de Filipinas ni Ferdinand Blumentritt, made popular by being yung best friend ni Rizal, daddy ni Rizal, and also the LRT station. Yes, congrats Mion. Akala ko hahayaan mo na si Pental yung yung makaabot ng 14,000. Anyway, the books we're using, Diccionario Mitológico de Filipinas ni Ferdinand Blumentritt, The Creatures of Midnight ni Maximo D. Ramos. Ang hirap na actually makahanap ng libro ni Ramos ngayon sa Pilipinas, and I don't know why. And yung Philippine Folk Literature Anthology, The Legends, na mahanap din minsan sa UP Press na bookstores physically and on Shopee and Lazada. Yeah, mahilig ako bumili ng libro. Anyway, Blumentritt Station. Narito na po tayo sa Blumentritt Station. We have arrived at Blumentritt Station. So, babasahin ko lang muna yung description ng Diwata according to paring Fernando. Ferdinand. Bakit po siya tinatawag na Fernando? I mean, technically, it's the same name. But, Ferdinand Blumentritt, Austrian/Czech, kasi teritoryo dati ng Austrian Empire ang Czech Republic. Best friend ni Rizal, author, researcher. Meron siyang description ng Diwata, otherwise known as Divata, otherwise known as Dewata, Diata, madaming spelling. Also, enjoy the ambient sounds of EDSA. Wait lang, lagay natin yung kalimutan ko maglagay ng text source early on. Magaling ako eh. Yeah. Ang laki ng font. Select font. Ang laki niya. Wait lang. Tama na, Ferdinand na yung tawag ko sa kanya, Fernando kasi hindi ko alam bakit Fernando tawag ko sa kanya minsan. Basta, okay. So, ito muna yung topic natin. Yung Diwata according to Ferdinand Blumentritt, sometimes written as Devata, Dewata, Divata, or Diwata, is the name of Sanskrit origin that the various races of the southern archipelago gave to their deities. The following are known. So, amongst the early Visayans, they had Diwata, the same meaning as Anito in the Tagalog. The Tinitianos or Batak of the island of Paragua, also now known as Palawan, gave the name Diwata to minor spirits, both good and evil. So wala silang they could be good, they could be evil. Technically, usually sa stories, they're more of agents of chaos. Wala talaga silang like leaning into one side or the other. Kung anong bet nila, gagawin nila, may power sila, okay? The Tagbanwa, another indigenous race from the island of Palawan, called the spirits and invisible beings Diwata. The Mandaya of Mindanao called the idols that represented their ancestors Diwata or Manawag. The Bagobo of Mindanao know more or less a Diwata. However, it is assumed that they do not give this name just to a singular spirit. Also, the Manobo of Mindanao have a spirit called Diwata. The Subanos of Mindanao relate, according to Padre Sanchez, only in a vague meaning of the Diwata and dark idea of God, of whom they are very afraid of. It is assumed that the Subanos know not only one but many Diwatas. The Tirorayes call a superstitious fish, what? My fish. A superstitious fish that has 8 heads and lives in ombligo or in the middle of the sea. A Diwata, shit, isda pala siya. according to the Tirorayas na indigenous people. It is assumed that this is not the only monster that the Tirorayas call Diwata. So, medyo generic term din siya for non-human monsters apparently. Other spirits and mythical beings are also called this name. The Maguindanao Moro call their idols and gods of the infidels their neighbors Diwata. I'm not gonna go to that. It is noted that the name Diwata was not used and is not used in the island of Luzon. The term Diwata is derived from the Sanskrit term Deva or Devata, akin to the Latin term Deus, or the Filipino Diwata has the same origins in term of language derivation. Hello, Coffee! Welcome to the stream. The Javanese has spirits called Dewata or Juwata. The Dayaks in Western Borneo know their supreme god under the name Jawata or Javata. They call a category of spirits that are in the inferior world or in hell, Jata, a contraction of Jabata. The Makasares and Bugis of the islands of Celebes call a category of guardian angels Rewata or Dewata. The Bolaang Mongoduers of the Celebes Island call their supreme god Ompu Dewata or Grandfather Dewata. The Bantiks, natives of the Minahasa or the Boreal Peninsula of Celebes, call their angels Mobu Dewata. The Bataks of Sumatra call their idols Debata Idup. These represent the Sialon or spirits of their most distant ancestors. Meron pang Diwataan or Diwatahan, a name given by Christianized Visayans to those who continue to worship the Diwata. So, according to Blumentritt, there are several groups of people not only in the Philippines but also in neighboring Southeast Asian countries, more of yung mga medyo mas south na island countries that call their gods or the spirits that they worship or give respect to or fear Diwata. Medyo general term siya. Eventually, in more popular culture, naging medyo same term ang Diwata with engkanto, which are also known, I guess the easiest way to translate them into English mythology would be fairies or elves. So, hindi ko pala nakuha yung stretch redeem ni Muscle. Thank you very much. Gagamitin ko na siya. We're going to look at the many different kind of elves naman according to elves or engkanto according to si Maximo Ramos na ang hirap hanapin ng libro niya before. I mean ngayon. I think I bought this book. Di na lang ko mag-talk kung kanus-an ako ni gipalit na libro. Okay, so let's talk about the engkantos according to listahan naman ni Ferdinand tuloy ni Maximo Ramos. God damn it. Maalam mo mag-spell, I swear. Okay, so let's look at the different kinds of elves or engkanto. First, let's look at yung engkanto according to the Eastern Visayans. Wait lang, maglagay tayo ng tab dyan. Madami-dami to eh. There are the Aghoy. The East Visayans call them Aghoy. They look like little men and women. Their skin is fair and smooth. They have deep-set eyes, blue, green, or brown, so they look like short white people. Why? They have high noses and yellow hair. Blondie pa sila, oh. Their feet are bare and they dress like villagers. They live in trees near villages. They come into a village after dark. They speak to men in whistles. They make friends with kind people. They give their friends wonderful gifts. They give them magic pots always full of food, and they give them magic purses always full of gold. So the Aghoy, nice small people from the Eastern Visayas. They look like white people. I don't know why. Di na lang sad ko usab mag-talk. Okay? Meron ding also from Eastern Visayas, the Lakitnon. These are the names of the people who live specifically in the balete tree. They appear like good-looking tall men and women. Again, they have fair skin, they have wavy and brown hair, their clothes are usually made of gold or silver thread. They mix with people and attend public dances. They go to college and travel in foreign lands. Holy shit, wait, may race relations talaga siya. I'm so sorry. They drive new cars and win beauty contests. But they live deep in the wild woods. What we think are balete trees are their mansions. We hear the clink of dishes in their kitchens, we smell their cooking and hear their babies cry. An attractive city girl once came to the village. She wanted to spend a quiet summer near a forest. A good-looking youth met her at the village dance. They danced and she fell in love. She agreed to visit his folks. In his car, he drove her to a beautiful city. The streets were wide and the houses were splendid. The next morning, she was found weeping in the woods alone. I'm not sure if fairies are what you need to cope with that, ate girl. Sige. Sige, fairies yung na-meet mo. Dalakitnon. So that's the Dalakitnon from East Visayas. Also yung Creatures of Midnight na libro, medyo made siya for children. So, hopefully it's not that sus. Let's talk about more small people. Yay! There's also the Dayamdam. Galing naman sila sa Agusan. They are the tiniest folk you have ever seen. So kamag-anak siguro sila ni Moshi Vienna. Their noses are high-bridged and thin. Their hair is straight and thin too. They hop about on fallen trees in the woods. They cover themselves with leaves. They stick out their tongues at you and hop off. They own every tree in the deep woods. We must ask their permission to gather fruit. We must get their permission to fell forest trees. So I guess kung nagtatabi-tabi po kayo, you may or may not be saying it to the Dayamdam. Sorry kung medyo wait lang. Na-OCD ako sa sarili kong sa sarili kong text. Lagay pa tayong isa. Select font. Oh my god, ang liit naman. Ang liit. There we go. Hello, Hika. Welcome to the stream. Okay, so for the generic encantada or engkanto, they are called encantada and engkanto in northern Mindanao, the Visayas, and southern Luzon, so almost everywhere. The words are Spanish and mean the enchanted ones. They are blonde and handsome, mythical people. Lagi lang silang blonde. They are tall, straight, and brown-haired. Akala ko pa blonde! Ang gulo naman ng kwentang to. Their noses are high, narrow, and long, but they have no philtrum, the canal on a people's upper lips. Okay, actually, kwento din to ng lolo ko. The way to figure out if engkanto ba o hindi yung kausap mo is titingnan mo yung the thing above your lip, if you can touch it. Di ba meron parang groove that connects it to your nose, parang merong curve, walang ganyan yung engkanto. Or engkantada. If may, yung kausap mo, sobrang smooth nung area under their nose to above their lips, hindi yung tao. They live in large trees, chiefly the balete. Their trees are mansions with lighted rooms and mirrors. They dance, hold parties, and listen to music there. They smell as sweet as the flowers in the green woods. They are afraid of spicy food, like white people. We know they are near when we smell the scent of wildflowers. The encantada seduces the village young men. The encanto seduces the pretty village girls. They become ugly and dark after people marry them. Okay, they become ugly and dark after people marry them. Then their victims find it too late to escape. Again, like white people. Hindi na lang ko mag-talk. Delix. Grabe, ang dami nila. Okay, let's look at parang afam pala sila. Afam yung engkanto. Anyway. Tabi-tabi po. Sorry, last time na nagkwento ako tungkol sa mga engkanto, the next day, nahulog ko yung phone ko and it broke. Like, it couldn't get fixed anymore. I bought a new one. I just finished paying for it. So, like, tabi-tabi po. Huwag niyo na sirain uli yung cellphone ko, please. Please, please lang. Just in case, please. Please, I'm doing this for educational purposes, not to fight you kahit na sobrang baho nung bulaklak doon sa tapat nung hardin na. I mean, tabi-tabi po. Sorry na po. Sorry na. Huwag na kayong magalit. Ooh. So, let's talk about the kibaan. The Ilocanos call them kibaan. They resemble people but are just a foot tall, so 12 inches. Their long wavy hair extends to their feet. They have sharp eyes and gold teeth. They light their path with their shiny teeth. Holy shit, si Chip from Fairly Odd Parents. They sing with sweet, high-pitched voices. They live in trees swarming with fireflies. They cook fish and greens in their tree kitchens at sunset. We can smell their cooking as we pass by. Their food smells like crushed leaves and grass. They are giving birth when the sun shines through the rain. They steal rice from people's bins. They steal fish from people's bamboo traps. They steal hair from children's head. Why? They can change themselves to bamboo stakes, parang ninja. They pretend that they are part of a bamboo fence. Their tiny footprints point the other way, their toes behind and their heels before. They give their friends magic pots and purses. So, the kibaan, tiny Naruto ninjas. Okay, so what's next? Let's look at people from Zambales. The Kamanandaplak are elves among the Zambals. They are tiny and cute mythical people. They smell sweet like ilang-ilang blossoms. They have long hair the color of corn tassels, so again, blonde. They live, pwede din brown. They live in trees over mountain brooks. They live the same way people live. But they're small. They call people by name at sundown. People hear their names called and they wonder, for they see no one there at all. They are kind to infants who are left alone. They put sweet wildflowers beside them. Okay, so ang dami nila. The Kamanandaplak, they're actually pretty kind and small and friendly. Unless your child is allergic to flowers, then your child is fucked. I'm sorry. Yung favorite ni Bibi. Bibi the Lewenry apologist. Also, Bibi Bakunawa nag-super secret stream kahapon. You did not see it. She was not there. We were not there. The Lewenry is a type of engkanto na specifically lalaki lang siya. The Lewenry. They are called Lewenry in Romblon. They are tall and handsome and fair of skin. They wear clothes of violet, black, and white. They mix unseen with people in the village. They show themselves to lonely travelers. They appear to boys and girls by moonlight. We stand a bisexual king. They appear to them at dawn, noon, and sunset too. Wait, he said boys and girls. We don't stand him anymore. No, age of consent. Bloom and treat. Yeah. Hello, netizer. We're talking about the Lewenry right now. They make frightful and shrill sounds. They play sad or joyful music. They laugh and cry and sing. They help the humble and punish the proud. So like, I guess, handsome dudes talking to little boys and girls, punishing proud people. Sige na. Okay na, may pogi na diwata. May lugar ba na Lewenry? I feel like there is, but also never ask me about places. I get lost super easily. Taking off my shirt and wearing it inside out has never helped. There we go. Let's talk about the Palasecan, a group of people after my own heart. The Palasecan. They are known to the Ilonggots as the Palasecan. They live in trees near human villages. They speak to people by whistling to them. They love to hear music made by people. They are friendly to good men and women. They warn travelers against danger. They help friendly farmers raise crops. They help friendly hunters in the woods. But they grow angry when people cut down their tree homes, and this is why I like them. They can be appeased by a cup of cane juice wine. Alak lang ang katapat, pre. Alak lang ang katapat. Let's go. My people. I mean, I hate them, but also my people. I mean, I like them. I'm sorry na. Sorry na. Alak lang pala katapat eh. I'll let you chop my tree. Just give me some wine. Okay, another group of very, very small people from Romblon, the Ragit-Ragit. They are known as Ragit-Ragit in Romblon. They are tiny, slender, and cute. Bigyan ng Jack Daniels, baka hindi nila magustuhan. Matamis yung ano eh. Matamis na alak ata type nila eh. Anyway, back to the Ragit-Ragit. They are tiny, slender, and cute. Their eyes are sharp and they cannot wink. Their complexion is fair and smooth. They live forever. And they never grow old. Only infants of less than a year can see them. They steal an infant left outdoors after sunset. I don't like them anymore. They make the infant ill. The infant fidgets and cries. It is cured by being made to wear a black cap. I don't like the Ragit-Ragit anymore. Thank you for the hydrate redeem, Yon. We're up to our last 3 classifications of engkanto, which will not be useful to us in any way when we start reading stories. Nasa bang lista rin? Hindi pa actually nakakatry ng gin bilog. Speaking of gin, kanina I noticed in my fridge there's like a jar of blueberry jam that I haven't tasted. I mean, I haven't like put on bread in a while. I actually forgot that jar of jam was there. So I decided to mix some with some gin tonic, and it was actually very, very delicious. And I will drink more after this stream, but not during, baka iba na yung masabi ko habang nagbabasa. Ano yung gin 4? Yun ba yung ano, di ba? Yun yung square, di ba? Yun yung square yung bote. Gin bilog yung bulog yung bote. Blueberry highball, yun ba yung tawag doon? At tawag ko doon is pataka lang kung unsang nasulod sa ref mo itong akong inmon gin. Thank you ulit for the hydrate. I'm not drinking gin right now. Gagawa ko. Wait lang. Wait. Sige, fine. Madali akong kausap. After the classifications ng mga diwata, let's go. I'm gonna make one. First, let's talk about oh my god, may nagda-drag race sa EDSA. Let's talk about the Tamawo. They are known as Tamawo to the West Visayans. The big dark nunok trees are their mansions. The women Tamawo are pretty in their white robes. Their wavy long hair cascades to the ground. They are tiny and never grow tall. Their skin wrinkles, but they never die. They steal infants from people's yards. Why do they always steal infants? I don't know. They lure boys and girls to their tree mansions. They offer them black rice and yellow roots. You better not eat the food that the Tamawo give you. You'll never get home again if you do. The rice and roots they offer you are worms. So the Tamawo, tiny, deceptive fox. I mean, nice people. Tiny, deceptive, nice people. Tabi-tabi po. Huwag niyo pong sirain ang cellphone ko ulit. Thank you. Okay, last 2 types of elves. Hello, Emigtals. Elves Philippines edition. Yes, we're just classifying them before we start reading some folktales. Let's talk about the Tirtiris. The Ilocanos give them the name Tirtiris. They are little folk with teeth of gold. They have long noses and light skin. They wear clothes of shimmering silk. Their clothes are embroidered with gold threads. They live in bagbagotot vines. They skip and dance in people's yards at nightfall. They like to be watched while they skip and dance. I guess I'm not gonna king shame, but okay. They make friends with good people from the village. They add rice to their bins. People are afraid to hurt them. When throwing things out of the window, people say, "Go away, go away." People who hurt them will get sore eyes and skin rashes. Sore eyes caused by... Don't listen to your doctor. You have sore eyes because you threw shit at tiny dancing people. Last, let's talk about the ugaw. They are known as ugaw in Pangasinan. They are as pretty as old-fashioned rag dolls. They live behind rice granaries and rice bins. They pound your rice in your kulong. Their pounding sounds far away like an echo. Yeah. Yep. They move quickly and are hard to see. They follow you when you enter your granary. They steal some rice after you leave. They steal rice from your bin too. They get exactly as much rice as you do. Quickly cover the bin after getting some rice. Be sure not to spill rice on the floor. The ugaw will know where you keep your rice if you do. Then, they will steal from it. Huh? Gusto mo maging rice? Bakit? Kasi ang bigas kapag naging kanin, may bumayo. Was a title of an old movie. An old bomba film. If I remember correctly, that's a legit a movie title, right? Let me see. Let me see. Kapag go gadget Google, kapag ang bigas naging kapag ang palay naging bigas, may bumayo was a movie from 2002. Wait, I need to read what the plot was about. I need to know. Now that I'm here. Apparently, 2002 siya na movie. Okay, it starred Lara Morena, JC Castro, Brando Legaspi. I don't know who these people are anymore. The tags, according to IMDb. Sisters have sex with the same man. Wife catches husband cheating on her. Female rear nudity. Brother-in-law, sister-in-law sex. Cheating husband. Cheating wife. Softcore Filipina erotica. Cool. Cool. Yun yung tags niya according to IMDb. The review was, great plot! As a professional movie critic, I love the plot of this movie. Okay, you do you, buddy. The story revolves around a certain arc you don't wanna miss. Baka bots nga yung critic. I don't believe na yun yung plot niya. I can't find... Okay. I found the plot. A tale of two sisters caught between the love and attention of a naive man who can't make up his mind. Parang anime pala to. Putang ina, kisses pala to eh. Gago, kisses lang pala to. Wala akong mahanap na ibang plot. Yun lang talaga yung mga plot na nakikita ko. Okay. The plot is two sisters fight over a kind of dumb man. This is an anime plot. This is kisses. Okay. Dahil may nag-redeem ng hydrate and dahil sinabi kong I would, BRB gonna make more gin jam, whatever it was that I made. Hello, magindarang araw. I'm back with the gin jam mixture that I made earlier. Oh god, napadami ko yung jam. Masyadong siya matamis. It's good though. I guess it's because blueberries yung jam and gin is also kind of berry flavored in a way. Yeah, so the plot of kapag ang palay naging bigas pumayo is technically an anime plot. I don't trust people who say adds tinapay to the gin. Skyflakes ang meron sa bahay. I don't trust people who go like, oh, I don't like anime, the plot is so generic, and then they'll give me this. They're like, I like this kind, I like this book, and then they describe the plot of the book, and it's like, my brother in Christ, you just explained a whole ass anime. I mean, look, some stories are just like that, okay? It just be like that. It just be like that. So anyway, yung plot ng isang bomba film, parang Kiss Sis. I have alcohol. We're done with talking about the definition of elves and engkanto by Maximo Ramos. Thank you for the hydrate, Redimion. Ayaw nyo ba maniwala na nanonood yung taong yun for the plot? Yeah, sometimes it's just people hating each other for liking the same thing but in different formats. Like, may one time, Magin Mama was like, I don't want to watch anime, okay? By the way, here's a young adult novel that I read just recently, and then she decides to, like, give me the plot that is very, very similar to Owarino Seraph. I was like, so there's, right? People are gone, and the vampires are just using other people as their sustenance, but they gave them a school and they gave them community, and like, Mom, you're just describing the plot of Owarino's Era to me. It's just Owarino's Era, Mom. It's just a novelization of Owarino's Era written by someone else. I believe it was a novel by Julie Kagawa or something like that, but my mom was like, I don't want to watch anime. Anyway, read this book, anak. You might like it and make you stop liking anime. It's like, that's an anime plot. Mom, I already watched it. It's fine. It's fine. Let me convince you on reading this young adult novel that is essentially Pacific Rim and Evangelion at the same time, but Chinese. Iron Widow, actually a good book. Well, it was a good book, and then the ending was kind of weird. Enough about book talk. Let's read books. We're going for Pacific Rim is like Evangelion but nerfed. I mean, they both have their good and bad points. And no cyborgs, I guess. Let me see. Where's the text part again? Okay. I've made so many text layers on OBS at this point. Okay, our last book. We're just gonna talk about a lot of legends. Masyadong malaki yung font to. There we go. Alright. Let's start with the basics of Diwata and Engkanto story. Maria Makiling, Maria Sinukuan, and Maria Kakao. Okay, so let's talk about Mariang Makiling. People living around Laguna de Bay say that a beautiful woman, more goddess than mortal, lives on the summit of Mount Makiling. The mountain stands on the southern shores of the lake between Calamba and Los Baños in Laguna. From the lake, it rises sharply to a rugged top and breaks into irregular hills southward. This asymmetrical contour led people to give it the name Makiling, which means leaning or uneven. Yung Maria na medyo sus is yung Mariang, are you talking about the MILF Maria? I'm not adding her here because I'm not entirely sure if Diwata siya, but if I remember correctly, the MILF Maria is Mariang Malindig. She got pissed off because she didn't get to marry the hot young man that she wanted to marry, so she destroyed an entire town. My idol. Hindi siya kasama sa Tres Marias. I just like her secret unlockable Fort Maria character. Back to Mariang Makiling. The goddess who now dwells on top of the mountain, people say, once lived at the foothills among mortals. She lived alone in a hut at the edge of the forest. Around her home, she tended a garden where the most beautiful flowers grew. People came to her when someone was sick. Then she would uproot some grass. Uproot some grass. Bakit glass yung sinabi ko? Or pluck the leaves of some herb to make these a brew or a poultice for a sick one. The ailment would vanish as if by magic. Sorry, may glass kasi sa tabi ko, ang laman niya alak. The people never ceased marveling at this woman, whom they knew simply as Mariang Makiling. She did not grow old. She remained always beautiful. They wondered where she came from, why she lived alone, pakilamera nyo, and most of all, why she could heal the sick. Some said she must be a spirit sent on earth to help the poor, for she would never accept any payment from them. Then one day, they became sure that she was not an ordinary mortal. A poor woman with a sick child came to her hut. Maria Makiling saw that the child was not sick from any disease, but was weak because it did not have enough food to eat. She took some ginger plants from her garden and gave them to the woman. She instructed her how to prepare a concoction from the roots. When the woman reached home, wonder of wonders, the ginger roots had turned into gold. You can't feed that to your child, but okay. The news spread fast among the simple folk living at the foot of the mountain. Forgetting all that Maria Makiling had done for them, they came to her garden in the stealth of night. Greed took possession of these once gentle folk, and they uprooted every grass and plant on which they could lay their hands. Yes, eat the gold, child. Eat it. I mean, my edible gold, but They got up early the next morning to see if the plants they tore from Mariang Makiling's garden had turned gold. Of course they had not, and when they turned their eyes toward the foothills where Mariang Makiling lived, they saw her white-clad figure floating upwards like a mist. Some say that what they saw was only a cloud, but the simple folk averred that it was Mariang Makiling. They said that they saw distinctly her long hair flowing behind her bowed head. She never turned her face, but people said that they were sure she was weeping. She disappeared in the haze on top of the mountain, and that is where she had lived ever since. Eat the gold, child. Eat the gold. There's another story about a young farmer who had fallen in love with Maria Makiling. One day, a young farmer who had fallen in love with her beauty followed her secretly into the woods. Stalker ka pala, putang ina. However, she went so quickly through the forest growth that he lost her. He waited for her on the market the next day, but she did not come to town that day, nor did she come on any day thereafter. The young man then went into the woods to search for her, but he never came back. Some say he found her. Some say he was lost and that he died in the woods without seeing her again, which is, most likely. Don't chase women in the woods. That's dangerous for everyone. To this day, old folk believe Maria Makiling still haunts the mountain. The mountain is covered with many fruit-bearing trees. You may eat all the fruit you wish, but do not try to bring any of it home. If you do, then you will lose your way. The insects will sting you, the thorns will scratch you, and the very trunks of the trees will play tricks on your eyes. Mariang Makiling will lead you completely astray. If prudent, you will throw away all the fruits you had intended to take out, and you will turn your clothes inside out to assure the good fairy that you're kinda hot, look at my body, that you are hiding none of her fruit on your person. Okay, valid. Only then might Mariang Makiling relent and lead you back to the right trail. I may or may not have completely misunderstood the whole purpose of taking your shirt inside out. Anyway, akala ko talaga pang inspection yun. Like, hotness inspection, pwede ka bang palabasin? Tapos, pray ka na lang na hindi ka pogi para hindi ka kidnapin ng diwata or some shit. I'm sorry again! Sorry na! Sorry! Tabi-tabi po! Huwag niyo sirain cellphone ko. Ang ganda ng font ko. Nababasa niyo ba yan? Sobrang liit to. Okay, next of the known Tres Marias is Mariang Sinukuan. Or, there we go. Mariang Sinukuan. Yun lang pala pangalan niya, Mariang Sinukuan. Mistakes were made. I hydrated with gin instead of water. The folk believe that the mountain of Arayat is ruled by a woman blessed by heaven with beauty and wealth, a combination of qualities so rare that words are inadequate to describe it. And perhaps the name Maria given to the maiden is also due to the poverty of words in Lacandula's language to express the equivalent of the qualities possessed by her, and also perhaps in memory of the many famous women whose given name was also Maria. For example, why is this in the story? Maria Immaculada, Maria Magdalena, Maria Penitente, Maria Egyptiaca, Maria Cleopas, Maria La Blanca, Maria de Molina, Maria de Medici, Maria Barbara, Maria Antonieta, Maria Estuato, and the two Maria Tudor, the three Maria Luisas, etc. So TLDR, Maria, really popular name for hot women and also popular women. The beauty of this Maria of Arayat was admired by everybody and by every young man who had a good fortune to see her. Even men of the most fastidious taste, or those who are cold of heart, or those still ignorant in the ways of love, were attracted to try their luck to win such a rare beauty. The beauty of Maria alone was enough reason for people to respect her and for dreamers to worship her. But to this was added her enormous wealth. It is said that when she went to Candaba Church on Sundays, she wore different kinds of valuable jewels to complement her dresses of almost pure gold. Bakit hindi pa rin siya nagrigripuhan sa Tondo? Malayo ang Tondo, right? Malayo nga pala siya, right. The home of Maria in the mountain was a large house of gold located on one side of the peak of Arayat. She lived with 12 beautiful maidens and 25 Aita women who served as house help and took care of the plants and animals on Mount Arayat. Everything therefore was in order. The fruits ripened on the trees, the animals were docile, and in them may be seen how Maria indulged them. The four-footed animals wore bracelets, the birds had panit, the fish and snakes wore earrings. How? And all these ornaments were of pure gold. Wait lang, yung utak ko is trying to find where the ears of fishes and snakes are. Okay, gonna be funny, gonna make it very, very hard for them to swim and like to crawl, but go off Maria, I guess. Any of these animals may be caught, cooked, and eaten, and similarly the fruits may also be eaten. What was forbidden was to take any of it home. For some reason, anyone who took anything out of the mountains was overtaken by rain, thunder, and lightning, which lasted until the thing was returned or until the offender died. That's not scary at all. Besides plants and animals, Maria also owned many pigs that were being fattened, so that every afternoon at the foot of the mountain, one might hear the noises and calls for the pigs to be fed. Many believe that those pigs being fattened were human victims enchanted by Maria. Yay! Cannibalism! I mean, it's very, very, like, you know, in Greek mythology, there's Circe the witch, right? She turned all of the trespassers in her island into pigs. I'm guessing it's also kind of like that. They were fed only rice bran and water, and for this purpose, Maria sent her Aitas down to the lowlands to buy rice bran. She gave her Aitas pieces of gold as big as marbles to exchange with rice bran. 1 piece of gold for 1 ganta of rice bran. The folks also say that some greedy Candaba residents once ambushed and killed the Aitas sent to buy rice bran, which caused Maria to curse them. May the murderers and the descendants grow pudlak on their lips and hands, so that now many believe that the Candaba residents with pudlak, a kind of sore on their lips and hands, are descendants of those who killed Maria's Aitas, but also maybe they have herpes, who knows. And they say that since the ambush, Maria all the more displayed the strength of her power of enchantment. She enchanted all the young men who wooed her and all those who were said to possess anting-anting and who dared to put her to the test. Among the latter, there was one also noted for the strength of his power of enchantment. He was called Tikbalang. Yeah, Tikbalang, like the horse guy. King of the San Mateo Mountains and brother of Mariang Makiling, who captured Bernardo, the king of the Tagalogs. Oh my God, my crossover. Tikbalang, kapatid ni Maria Makiling, trying to hit on Maria Sinukuan. They say that Tikbalang had long been wooing Maria, but because she didn't like him or perhaps to test his power, she gave him the task of building overnight a stone bridge without supporting posts to span the distance from Makiling to Arayat. The Tikbalangs immediately set to work, but hardly had the bridge reached Laguna de Bay when the dawn broke and the church bells rang to announce the mass. In their fright at the sound of the bells, the Tikbalang fled, causing the bridge to collapse. They say that the dike of stones that crosses Laguna de Bay from Barrio Sukul in Los Baños to Pulong Calamba are the remains of the bridge that collapsed. Until now, these remains may still be seen. It is believed by many that the failure of Tikbalang to finish the bridge was proof of the superiority of Maria's powers over that of Tikbalang. These marvelous proofs of Maria's power were the basis for calling her Sinukuan or Mariang Sinukuan, which in turn gave rise to the name of Mount Sinukuan. So unlike Mariang Makiling, who was named after the mountain she lived on, Maria Sinukuan had a mountain named after her. Let me just find Maria Cacao for a while. Okay, found it. Thank you for the stretch redeem, Yon, and thank you for the draw a tarot card redeem, Bibi Bakunao. Oh shit, the master. Just, for clarification's sake, I don't really practice tarot card reading that well. I'm just like, I dabble for fun, shits and giggles. I'm using a tarot card deck called the Uncommon Tarot, which was drawn by Shaheen Miro. It's really, really pretty. I still forgot to post a photo of it on Twitter, but yeah, let me draw a card. Any card. It won't fall out of its box. There we go. Let me just drink. It's water this time, I swear. Full disclaimer, not meant to be advice, just meant for fun, etc, etc, la la la, blah blah blah. At the end of the day, you control your own fate. Says Magindara, someone who just had a tarot card reading from 2 people and fully believes in it. Do what I say, not as I do, okay? Okay, okay. Okay, so what I got was Death upside in the reverse, which according to this tarot card deck is going backwards due to fear, lacking trust in the opportunities ahead of you, or a paralysis created by fear, resistance, staying in your comfort zone, even if it means you cannot spread your wings, feeling pinned down. And that's the card I pulled. Card Shuffle ASMR Taskaru. Thank you very much for that redeem, BB. And yeah, new redeem just for fun. Again, not meant as advice. I like shuffling cards. I didn't realize that you guys could hear this. Moshi's alive! Unless she's been live for a while. I just saw the Discord notif. Okay, I'll finish shuffling later. Dun, 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 da, 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 dun, dun, da, da, dun, da, dun. This is going to be my earworm and no longer the opening theme to Oshinoko. Wait lang, medyo kinulang ako ng stretch. Let's talk about the last of what is known as the Tres Marias, not to be confused with the secret fourth MILF Maria that I will not be talking about during this stream. Let's talk about Maria Cacao, a story from Cebu, no longer in the Tagalog region. On the highest mountain of Argao in the cave of Lantoy, there lived a very beautiful woman called Maria Cacao. According to the old folks, she was a fairy who would sometimes come down and show herself to the townspeople when the moon was full, parang si Glomer ng Don't Starve. She was called Maria Cacao after her huge cacao plantation on the mountain. In fact, she would sometimes travel to America to sell her cacao. Ay shit, jet setter si ate. From her travels, Maria Cacao usually brought new utensils, silverware, and chinaware. The townspeople used to borrow these items for weddings, baptisms, and other feasts. Yan, may nabuhay DST, yun yung bagong value. I'm sorry. It is said that anyone who wishes to use Maria Cacao's things simply ask for them at the mouth of the cave. Next day, without fail, these things would be delivered to his door. She's para din siyang Shopee. So she's Glomer Shopee, Maria Cacao. For her trips, Maria Cacao used a huge golden ship. Because of its size, sometimes its mast would snag on the bridge of Argao so that the bridge would collapse. When the Americans were about to build a concrete bridge in Argao, the people said to one another, "The new bridge will have to be very high so that the golden ship of Maria Cacao cannot touch it." One day, an engineer went to Maria Cacao's cave and begged her not to pass by the Argao River so that the bridge would not be destroyed again. Maria Cacao is said to have agreed. Hence, nothing has happened to the bridge of Argao. However, the people cannot borrow utensils for their feasts anymore, nor have they seen Maria Cacao. It is said that Maria Cacao has learned a lesson. Some townspeople failed to return things borrowed from her. Thus, Maria Cacao no longer appears to the townspeople. Sometimes when the townspeople hear that the bridge of Dalaguete, Manipis, or Mananga is destroyed, they say it may be due to the golden ship of Maria Cacao. Now, she has probably moved to another place and has to pass by another river. So Maria Cacao, destroyer of bridges, dakilang tigapaghiram, nagbebenta ng kakao sa America, also only appears during the full moon. Like Glomer from DST. Zzz, zzz. Choco Maria. Maybe? I know, right? Pumupunta siya ng US just to sell chocolate. Like, what the hell? May pera si ate. Like, Maria Makiling only stayed in her mountain. Maria Sinukuan only stayed in her mountain. Maria Cacao, like, no bitch. I travel by boat. I destroy bridges. I sell my stuff to America. Let's go. And now the Americans sell their chocolate to us. Like, wow. Time reversed. Kakokwa. Cacao from South America. Man, Filipino cacao hits different though. Meron pa akong like easy to melt cacao dun sa ref. I haven't drank it yet because it will coat your entire stomach with cacao and It's a very weird feeling that I don't particularly enjoy. It's bad for streaming. Like, it's good if you want to get like very, very cacao drunk on a day. But you will feel that in your throat and in your stomach for days. I'm talking about cacao and nothing else, okay? Cacao. Let's all drink cacao. Maybe I should just bring it and let you guys drink it at some point. The origins of cacao, yeah. Probably. Cacao right now in the Philippines, it usually thrives in mountainous regions, the same place where coffee also thrives. You have fermented cacao beans, nice. Hindi ko mapaarawan, puro ulan. Good luck. Actually, you do need to dry it, no? Ang bilis mag-mold ng ng cacao eh. I need to check if yung cacao sa ref is still drinkable. Thank you for the hydrate, Redeemion. Let's see, what other fairy folklore stories do I have? Water, sugar, and yeast. Oh. What story is this? Oh, okay, let's talk about a male engkanto, a male diwata. The Legend of Halimumog, a Tagalog tale. In Alaminos, putang ina, Bulacan lang pala to eh. Bulacan yun, di ba? Bulacan yung Alaminos, di ba? In Alaminos, there was once a very extensive farm on which many farmers, together with their families, lived in separate cottages. This farm was located at the foot of the mountain, where, according to tradition, an enchanted man lived, who possessed precious treasures. Often when these farmers were gathered together, at rest under a spreading tree near their cottages, as was their habit, each told a story about the enchanted man, so pinagchichismisan siya ng mga kapitbahay niya, ay popular Filipino pastime. One favorite story was that in earlier times, the farmers could talk to the man and could even borrow some needed things, especially all kinds of plates to be used on wedding days. But it happened that a dishonest, odd-looking fellow did not return what he had borrowed, and after that, no one could see the enchanted man again. Because they did not describe the enchanted man, my mind is just going to the bearded mascot of Enchanted Kingdom. One day, before the enchanted man was offended, one of these farmers named Remigio was plowing steadily when he saw the form of an old man standing at one of his rice fields. It seemed he made his carabao go to him, but when Remigio came close to the stranger, he saw him holding a kind of basket filled with tomatoes, radishes, onions, and meat. Then the old man talked to Remigio, asking his help to carry his basket to his house, pointing out the location of the mountainside. Having heard these words, Remigio hesitated, for he did not know of such a house. As he was thinking, the tradition related so often by his companions concerning the enchanted man came to his mind, so he gave the old man aid. After walking a few minutes up the hillside, they arrived at a long building situated under a big tweet tree, the position of which was very familiar to Remigio, but he had never seen such a long, large building before. A long, large building, yes. That's all he saw. Entering the house, very much surprised, he saw a long corridor with a room at one end, which made him wonder still more. On each side of this was a row of jars, the contents of which he did not know. The man took him into the room, where a sum of money was given to him as a reward. Just go to this strange old man's house. Go into his room. Things will happen. He will give you money in the end. The room was so richly decorated that it awed the farmer, as he had never seen such beautiful furnishings before. There were an ottoman and a rocking chair on which he was invited to sit, so he seated himself, but jumped up very suddenly, like a deer that hears a gun, for suddenly he thought that he would turn over. The old man just stood still and said to him, "Whenever you need my help, You need only come back here and you will obtain aid in whatever you may need. Sugar Daddy Enchanted Kingdom. Bet. Before Remigio left the house, all the jars on both sides of the corridor were open for him to look in, and he beheld such wealth that he easily resolved to return in his next difficulty, as the enchanted man said. When he departed, he was warned not to let other persons, even his own family, know where he had been, nor how he had obtained the money. Then the farmer went home and continued plowing with his carabao. He gave the money to his helpmate and followed the advice of the enchanted man. Thereafter he often went back to the old man's house, which could not be seen by others, to get anything he lacked. His wife's curiosity was soon aroused, and she asked him day after day about the matter, but he merely replied, "Keep still. Just don't question where I get the money. It's fine. I don't go into a strange old man's house day in, day out, in private, which leads me to getting more money. It's fine. Everything's fine. This is not a sauce story." Tabi-tabi po. As time went on, he became very well-to-do, but still worked hard and always kept the warning of the enchanted man in his mind. Once when Remigio was with the friendly old man, he was offered a jar filled with wealth to be taken to his cottage at midnight with no other help than his carabao. The enchanted man wished to go to some other place for several months. Wow, shit! May allowance, bitch! May allowance siya. Magbabakasyon lang siya, may allowance si Remigio. So he desired to provide Remigio with a liberal supply to cover his needs in his absence. After the warning had been again called on his mind, the old man told him that he would place the jar on top of a mound, whence the farmer could roll it down to his sledge easily. Accepting the offer gladly, Remigio went home to prepare for the enterprise. Man, sana all may sugar daddy engkanto. Like, damn! His curious helpmate, seeing him preparing strong rope, the sledge, and the yoke, asked what it all meant. He was so overjoyed at the prospect of great riches that, unfortunately, he told everything frankly, concluding with the announcement that now his enchanted friend would give him the jar of wealth. His wife advised him to take their eldest son with him. At first, the farmer refused to consider it, but he knew the jar was too heavy for him, so he consented. Midnight came, and they started to go with their carabao pulling the sledge. When they came to a mound, they found the jar exactly as promised. Remigio took hold of the heavy jar, and with the aid of his son, he rolled it down to the sledge. As the mound was very steep, the jar slid and bounded on the sledge very suddenly. At once the earth opened and the jar disappeared. The farmer, bitterly disappointed, then repented in vain his foolish disobedience. After this, the unfortunate farmer related the story to one of his neighbors named Mariano. The ambitious man, who claimed to know something about the magic power, replied to him with enthusiasm, "Keep still, my friend, and we can find it. At midnight we will go with a pickaxe and a spade to the place where it disappeared, and I will tell you where it is to be dug out. But advise you not to speak a word while there, nor to be frightened whatever you may see when we are digging." Seems sus. This story keeps getting more sus. The appointed time came, and they soon arrived at the foot of the mound. Mariano knocked and knocked on the ground with his hand and held his ear, listening closely. Finally, he told Remigio where the jar was to be dug out. At first, Remigio dug the ground. Then his friend Mariano took his place. As Mariano was digging and Remigio stood silent, he saw many terrible and frightful creatures, among which were snakes with big heads lifted up, wild boars with very long tusks and the bristles raised, and the form of a big, tall black man with a whip in his hand. Oh, nice. All of these seemed to be approaching near and nearer to seize them. At last, unable to endure his fright any longer, he exclaimed, "Let us go home now, my friend." Upon hearing these words, Mariano's face became disfigured with rage when he said, "I was already touching the rim of the jar of wealth, but when you spoke, it at once sank." Then the two unfortunate friends went home full of sadness, and the enchanted man was never seen again. The end. You lost your sugar daddy enchanted kingdom. Also, you went on what seems to be an insanity event from Don't Starve Together. Let's play Don't Starve. I'm sorry. I'm currently obsessed with the game. It's fine. I can stop anytime I want. What was the title of that story again? The Legend of Halimumog. I have no idea what Halimumog has to do with this. Wait lang, lubat na yung cellphone ko. Where is the lubot of my charger? No, tumunog yung Nintendo Switch ko. It's fine. It's fine. I will not turn on my Switch and play Monhun. I am not addicted. I can stop anytime I want. I swear I can. What's our next tale? What's our next tale? I swear I have a lot of bookmarks on this book. As opposed to bookmarks on a magazine. Or something. Okay, let's talk about Engkanto and Diwatas that live by the river. Let's talk about the Naiad of Botocan Falls. In the province of Laguna, there is a town named Mahayhay, which has a small beautiful river on the east known as Botocan, with a beautiful fall. This fall is 215 feet high, but you imagine that it is higher, for much of the water is changed into vapor, and whenever the sun shines upon the fall, one or more rainbows are seen. The water falls into a rocky basin, then flows away in a red bed between precipitous walls of rocks covered with foliage. In front of this fall, just at the edge of the precipice, is a big tree, covered from top to bottom with inscriptions in an unknown language. At the bottom behind this fall is a spacious cave inhabited by a wonderful naiad. This naiad, naiad being a term for fairies that are specifically in freshwater places, is a golden princess dressed in a garment adorned with the most precious jewels and gold. In her house, she has a servant and also a golden cow, a golden centipede, and many other golden things, for whatsoever the naiad uses is made of gold. Our ancestors have many traditions concerning the naiad. About the time of the American occupation, a poor little girl living in the body of Mahayhay was passing near the fall with her mother one twilight when she stopped to wash her feet in a stream nearby. After the mother had passed on, the little girl had heard her name called, and looking up, she saw the fair naiad. Following her guidance, the little girl stepped into the stream, and lo! The water on which she stepped was changed into gold sand. Upon arrival at the naiad's cave, she was very much bewildered and amazed at the decorations of her house. The naiad gave the poor girl a great sum of money, including bracelets, necklaces, rings, and earrings, saying that she must not tell where the valuables come from. Bad idea, that's a little girl. She must tell, because if she doesn't tell, it's very sus. Although the bag of gold was very, very heavy, yet the little girl went away without any difficulty, because the naiad helped her at first in carrying it. But as she proceeded alone, the bag became heavier and heavier until she had to ask for aid. When she reached home, her mother asked her where the money come from, valid, but she said that she must not ask, for it was a secret. Finally, the mother asked her so persistently that she could not keep quiet any longer, So she had to tell the forbidden secret, but after doing so, she found no money in the chest where she had hidden her treasure. Another tradition is that if any man brought a white cock, that is, one with feathers, legs, claws, bills, and other parts, all white. What specific days? The Naiad would come out from her cave and would call the man and give him money in exchange for the cock. Cool. During the guerrilla warfare between the Americans and the Filipinos, an American captain who was stationed at Mahayhay once went to Botocan to take a bath. When he reached the river, he decided to go to the bottom of the fall. He did so, and when he arrived there, he saw the golden centipede. No, probably there, you know what? Probably there to check out the white cock. So he dived suddenly to catch him, and as the golden centipede was so big that it could not move quickly, the captain caught one of its legs. He made this one leg into two big rings. When the Americans heard about this treasure, many of them went there, and they have continued to visit the falls until the present time. But whenever an American or any foreigner goes there, even if it be Mr. William H. Taft with a specific citation, it rains heavily although the sun shines brightly. Once a skillful miner came and, slipping up, he suddenly put some magic medicine at the entrance of the Naiad's cave. But although he caught the Naiad's maidservant, she herself escaped. The Naiad was seen that night riding on a ship in the air accompanied by innumerable butterflies, and she sailed away to the top of Banahaw Mountain. But she soon returned to her beloved haunt and has been often there since. Okay, cool. So the fairy of Mahayhay of Botocan Falls really likes white cock is my key takeaway from this story. But also, you know, as we've learned from the past stories, if a fairy gives you money, just shut up and never tell anyone where you got it. It's fine. It's fine. You're gonna be fine. Bad things happen when you tell people where you got the money. BRB, what did Pental call this again? Gonna take an idle break. Because I've been drinking 2 cups of gin. Hey, I'm back with more fairy stories. This time about bananas. Let's talk about a fairy that lives in the balete tree. I'm sorry, this book just calls them fairies by default. Okay, the fairy of the balete tree. As Ambo was planting bananas in his piece of land, a strange fear came upon him. Once in a while, he cast a glance at the big balete tree that grew no more than 20 meters away. Many stories about this tree. Baka walang English or Western counterpart yung word na anito. I mean, they could just use engkanto. They use capre, they use manananggal. I don't know why this old lady who collated all of this folklore wouldn't just use Filipino terms, but anyway, the American period was weird. So anyway, let's go back to Ambo. He was planting bananas on his piece of land. Suddenly he felt afraid and he started staring suspiciously at the big balete tree that grew not more than 20 meters away. Many stories about this tree was told by the village people in those old days. For example, they told of strange noises heard there at night. Sometimes people say that they saw lights in it. It seemed that people often heard the sound of merrymaking at midnight when there was not even a single house within a kilometer of it. These same people also told of people disappearing in the fields, and nobody ever knew where they went. 2 years passed. Ambo went to the banana plantation to gather the fruits of the bananas he had planted. He walked through the plantation, but he saw not a single bunch ready to be gathered. He went home in anger. "Impossible," he cried. "Maybe somebody has been stealing my bananas. I will find out even if I have to watch this field all night." Like the plot of Croods 2, starring Nicolas Cage and Ryan Reynolds and Peter Dinklage. At twilight, after supper, he went to the field and hid himself behind a thick bush. He had not been there too long when he caught sight of somebody gathering his bananas. He stood up and drew his polo. With his bolo gleaming in the dim night of early evening, he rushed after the thief. He was surprised to see that the thief did not run away. Ambo stopped and stood still as he stared at the beautiful girl dressed in pure red. She was the most beautiful girl he had ever seen. "You have been stealing my bananas," he said. "Oh, I came to gather only a bunch. Now that I know you are the owner of the bananas, I wish to ask for permission," replied the girl. She came close to him. He could not move a muscle as she came closer. He was a fucking simp. She stretched a beautiful hand to Ambo. Then, when she had touched him, he fell into a deep sleep. When he woke up, the banana plantation was gone. The balete tree was gone too. Instead, he and the girl were in front of a big house. Light streamed out of the window and the sound of laughter floated distinctly in the silence of the night. "This is our home," she said. "We're having a celebration. Please come in." He could not be persuaded to come in, for at that time, he remembered that his mother was waiting for him. She came close to him and caught his hands. Then together they went in and sat among the laughing women who were eating all kinds of food. He ate and drank and laughed and sang and danced. Everybody was friendly to him. The girl persuaded Ambo to stay. But as he remembered his mother, he would not stay. No sooner had he uttered something than he fell into a deep sleep again. The world seemed to spin around him. When he came to, he found himself in this plantation again. It was still early evening. The girl was gone. He went home and told his mother of his wonderful adventure. Stories of a similar kind were told by his mother, and it was believed that this fairy was called Mariang Ileak. And so that's the story of Ambo. got invited to a fairy party, stayed because he was a good boy, decided to leave, actually got home safely. Now, according to my grandfather, because my grandfather has a lot of stories, wait, let me just write the title of that one. It's... Okay. So, my grandfather has a lot of Encanto stories to tell because that's just the way he is. And so, according to him, a lot of... If you get invited into a fairy party, the food is usually delicious, but except for one thing, one very, very big and crucial thing, they don't use salt in their food. And so if you ever dare to complain, hey, man, this thing could use some salt, it's good, the food's good, but I want some salt in it. Give me some good old sodium chloride. The fairies will not just kick you out of their house, but they will kick you out of their house, lead you someplace in the forest where you will have a hard time getting out and may or may not traumatize you so hard that you will be insane forever. So yeah, never tell an Encanto that their food sucks. They will ruin your life forever. The end. Don't do it. Just don't. Okay, just don't. Let me just take a quick break to check Twitter because it's my job. Man, who the fuck cooks their food without salt though? Cretins, that's who. Tabi-tabi po, wag niyo pong sirain yung cellphone ko. Okay, we're fine. We're fine. Let's talk about what it's like to have a fairy or an Encanto for a boss. Encantos, they're weird bosses. They tend to be nice bosses, but they're also fucking weird. With a story from Masbate called Floro and the Fairies. Once there was only a few inhabitants in the interior parts of Masbate, and only forests were to be seen. There was once a family who went into the forest and cleared a big kaingin. Kaingin, for those who don't know, it's burning or starting a forest fire in order to turn it into usually farmland, which does have a bit of scientific basis because it does clear up some trees that will or will not die, may or may die very, very soon, clears up some nutrients, has been badly maligned as a start of forest fires way back when, but may or actually be a good practice if done correctly. And anyway, I don't have the expertise for this. Forest fires actually an integral part of our ecosystem. Anyway, so this family cleared the forest through a large fire one noon after the kaingin had been planted. Okay, so here's the thing. After you burn it, the kaingin is after you burn it, you plant things after, okay? It's not just burning the forest to the ground, it's burning and then planting. So after the kaingin had been planted, the eldest son of the family fell asleep alone in the rest house that they had built at the edge of the kaingin next to the forest. When he was sound asleep, he was shaken by a hand and he woke up. He opened his eyes and he saw nobody. He thought he was dreaming. But when he was about to close his eyes again, a voice spoke. "Floro, I want you to come with me." Floro sat up and in front of him stood a man who he thought was a Spaniard. "You have intruded into my land and have cut down many of my plants," the man continued. Floro was bewildered. All he could say was, Hain kita mikadto, senyor," which means, "Where are you going, sir?" The man said, "Just come along with me. You're my child now." They walked The last part was just me. They walked over a big lawan tree that traversed the kaingin which Floro had cut down. When they reached the end of the tree, Floro found that they were already treading on a national highway. At last they arrived at the man's house. It was a big house and very well furnished. There were poultry and piggery. There were about 200 pigs, which, if we believe the Maria Cacao story, may or may not be humans that were enchanted for fun and punishment and also food. The man said, "You help me take care of the pigs and work in the kitchen." Flora now found out that the house where he was the very big palete tree that they could see on top of the hill from his own house. He could see his home from the house of his master, indistinct in the twilight, for the bright noonday when they trudged into the fairyland was instantly changed to twilight. Yeah, another big part of Diwata stories. Twilight or around sunset is when you can go from the realm of the Diwata to the realm of the people and vice versa. There, Floro lived for about 4 years. On the other hand, Floro was missed on the farm. His parents and brothers looked for him everywhere. They asked everybody they met, but there was no trace of him. So he was given up for dead or eaten by wild animals in the forest. Okay, can't find my son for 4 years. Guess he's dead now. Which, valid. These were different times. Now, Floro in his master's house was a faithful servant. Sometimes he would go fishing with his master. Sometimes he would pass by his own home and would see his parents and brothers, but they could not see him. It did not occur to Floro to go back to his own home. Sometimes also Floro could see his brothers hunting, spreading their nets under the house of his master. Then his master would say, "Give them a lean sow." Then Floro let out a lean sow from the pen and drive it to the net. So yeah, we're gonna give them a pig, but it's gonna be like the skinniest pig we have. It's fine. Least we can do after kidnapping you from your family. On the 4th year of Floro's stay in Fairyland, he began to wonder why his master always threw away the stingray they caught when they went out fishing. The master said that the stingray was an abomination to them because of its sharp spines at the base of its tail. Okay, so stingray, also known as pagi, its tail in the old-timey days was used as a whip and was said to be used to fight against evil spirits. Buntot pagi. One day, Floro went to fish alone. He caught a small stingray. He survived, while Steve Irwin did not. He got the spines and kept them in his pocket. When he reached home, he went directly to the kitchen. He noticed after a few moments that all the household became uneasy, and all of them went down. They stayed under the house. When his lord came home, he also felt uneasy. He went raging into the kitchen. "Floro," he shouted, "you surely have the spines." The lord got a big stick and beat Floro and kicked him out of the kitchen. "Go home," cried the master. "You are a very bad servant who I kidnapped from your family, but that's beside the point." When Floro fell on the ground, he rolled and got up and ran as fast as his legs could carry him toward his home. At that instant, also, the house of his master became a big balete tree. When Floro was already near his home, he stopped. He did not go to his house. He sat down on the roadside, very mute. It chanced that his brothers were already returning from their work. They saw Floro. One brother said, "Oy, that's Manoy Floro." "Yeah, that's his spirit. Let's catch him," said his other 2 brothers, so they think he's a ghost. So they crept behind him and jumped upon him. Floro struggled, but his 2 brothers clung fast to him. Floro dragged them so that they cried for help. Because of the commotion, their parents came together with their neighbors. Floro seemed to be wild. He wanted to run, so they tied him and took him home. They asked him many questions, but Floro did not answer, so they gave him food and water. After Floro had eaten, he began to talk. He told them the whole story of his life with the engkanto. So yeah, if you piss off fairies, they will destroy your life. But they already actually kind of... No wait, he pissed them off. Then they kidnapped him. And then he became a good servant, but then he became a bad servant. And then the fairies were like, fuck you, you're a bad servant, you're kicking you out. And then he went insane. Or maybe he was just hungry and he got back to his home after disappearing for 4 whole ass years. And that is the story of Floro and the fairies. Okay, guess I have last 2 stories. The last one being a happy story because everything seems shit. So let's talk about second to the last story, the Salay Tree from Iloilo. The Salay Tree, Slay. Okay, the jam that was left under that cup of gin is nasty, don't drink it. The Salay Tree. There are many weird tales about the Salay Tree, which stands between the railroad track and the river in Barrio Cabugao, Pavia, Iloilo. This tree is said to be the meeting house of all the tamawo or fairies. We talked about them earlier, which I immediately forgot. Let me just check again. What was specific about the tamawo fairies again? The tamawo. Oh yeah, they're the tiny ones that feed you worms. Okay. Game, let's go. The tree is said to be a meeting house of all the tamawo. Many deaths have been attributed to the tamawo living in this tree. One very popular floating tale tells about an engineer on the railroad that had just been built between Iloilo and Capiz. It is said that when the train made its first trip, the driver of the train wondered why it had stopped whenever it reached this Salay Tree. He learned later that a stranger had gone to the manager of the Philippine Railway Company, warning him not to continue laying the railroad tracks near the Salay Tree because of the great disturbance the noise of the passing train would make. Besides, it would be a hazard to the children playing around. The man, unknown to the manager, suggested that the railway tracks be moved a little further from the tree. This warning was not heeded by the manager. After all, he thought, who is this stranger to tell me exactly what to do? Then, for several days during the first operation of the railway, each time the locomotive came near the Salay Tree, the engine would stop. For a time, the manager would not believe what the stranger had told him. Then the engineer testified that whenever the train stopped, he could not find anything wrong with the engine. It would take them several minutes, sometimes hours, to make the engine run again. This disrupted the timetable that a disaster of a collision was feared. Later, the manager heeded the advice of some men in the neighborhood that the railway tracks be moved further away. This was done, and to their great amazement, from that time on, the engine did not stop there. So yeah, don't build trains near big trees, you'll piss off the fairies. Now here's another story about the Salay Tree. Some years ago, a little girl of around 11 years old was sitting on the stairs of her house at about 6 o'clock in the evening, so sunset, the perfect time for Diwata to come out. A friendly old woman appeared before her. She had a long nose, almond-shaped eyes, brown hair, sparkling teeth, and a squeaky voice. The old woman coaxed the child to go with her. The child innocently went with her. They came to a beautiful palatial home, completely with costly curtains and draperies. one which the girl had never seen. The floors were shiny and clean. The walls were beautifully painted and decorated with large mirrors and glass. From the ceiling hung several glass chandeliers sparkling like diamonds in the creeping dusk. The furniture was all costly and beautifully carved too. The chairs were the colonial type. The old woman conducted the child through all the rooms and showed her many beautiful toys. The little girl enjoyed playing with the toys. Then she was taken to a table to eat. A kingly feast was laid before her. Again, this is the fairy that feeds people worms. The table was covered with an attractive food she had never seen before, but the girl would not eat the food on the table. She was too shy to eat at the gorgeous table and to partake of the food which she has never yet tasted. No matter how hungry she was, since it was almost midnight, she ate none of the food offered to her. What a smart child! The old woman tried to make her eat, but the little girl refused. Then the old woman took pity on her. She took the girl downstairs and accompanied her back to the house. When the girl reached her home, she was surprised to see the old woman disappear like vapor in thin air. Meanwhile, the girl's parents had been looking for her in distress. Friends and neighbors had helped them in their search. Torch in hand, everyone was peering into every nook and corner of the barrio, calling her name. Midnight came without any sight of her. Then, all of a sudden, her mother saw her sitting on the stairs. She embraced her in great joy, crying, "Where have you been? We've been looking for you everywhere. Where did you go?" The neighbors flocked around the girl, and all of them had suspicious eyes for each other, for they saw that the girl seemed to be under a spell. Her stare was blank, and she would not utter a word. Her hands were cold, and she looked pale. "She must have been kept by the tamawo in the salai tree," whispered one of the neighbors. "Look at her eyes. She seems to be in a trance." "Yes," said others. "That is true," agreed the rest. Then an old woman, a neighbor, came with a crucifix because religion, Jesus fixes everything. She held the crucifix in front of the girl and said some prayers. A few minutes later, the girl spoke and told them everything she had seen in the beautiful house in the salai tree and the strange old woman. And so that's a story specifically about the tamawo, a kind of engkanto from Iloilo ba ang tamawo? Right? West Visayas, okay. So a kind of engkanto from West Visayas. They like to kidnap children or take children to their homes if you eat their food, which is usually made of worms but is disguised to be very, very pretty. You will never be able to go home. Again, so this child was actually smart, but also, man, they really needed to mind wipe her, huh? Parang Men in Black lang ba? Parang ganun siguro. Let me just hydrate and stretch before the last story. Technically, there are more, but I just selected a few from this book. Stretching feels good, man. Hello. Hello, Conkle. Yeah, that sure was a kidnapping. That sure was a story about kidnapping. Okay, our last story for today. Hopefully something with a happy ending. I only browsed through its pages. Is a story from Palawan. The Fairy and the Fisherman. Once upon a time, there was a fairy who courted a humble fisherman. The fisherman was a widower with one child, so like he's a daddy. And you know what? That's valid. The fairy won his love. They lived together in the home of the fisherman. After the birth of the child, the family disappeared. Huh? According to information of the nearest relatives of the fisherman, they moved to the fairy's place in Bilaya, a big stone near Maitighet. So this is how the fairy won the fisherman's love. One night the fisherman went fishing. On his way he noticed that there were people ahead of him. He heard them talking, singing, and laughing. But when they got near the big stone, all the noise stopped. Suddenly he saw a bright light flying in the air. The light alighted gently on top of the big stone. The fisherman stood motionless as he looked at the flying object. He was so frightened. When he recovered from his fright, he proceeded to the place where he used to fish, with knees still trembling. After throwing his net several times, he caught enough fish. He went home happy. When he reached home, he told his father-in-law about the thing he saw. His father warned him about what it was. That seemed to be a bulalakaw. Bulalakaw, also a Filipino word that means shooting star. But in this case, a bulalakaw is a beautiful engkanto who troubles fishermen at night. They talked about engkanto till late at night. The following morning, the fisherman went to his kaingin and his father-in-law to his homestead. They went in different directions. The fisherman had to cross the thick forest before reaching his kaingin. He was in the middle of the forest when he saw a puppy in the path. "Ah, there's a puppy in the story. Surely it can't go bad." It was a nice puppy. He picked it up and carried it in his arms. When he was about to get out of the forest, he met a little girl. "Thanks, I've seen the thing that I've been looking for a long time," said the girl. "What is it?" asked the fisherman. "It's the puppy you're carrying. It has been lost for 2 days now. I've been looking for it since last night," answered the girl. "Who owns the puppy?" he inquired. "My master," replied the girl. "And who is your master?" "Betona, the princess of Belaya," replied the girl. "How did it happen that she lost her puppy?" "Wa man gud ninyo gihikti." Tan manunta ng papi. "My master went out for a pleasure trip the night before and the puppy followed her without notice. He was not able to follow her, so it lost its way. When she found out that her puppy was missing, she sent me to look for it. Now I have found it. I wish to take it from you, if you please." "Tell your master that you found the puppy, but the man who found it will not give it, because it's a very precious puppy." "It's a good boy," the fisherman told the girl. When the girl heard the fisherman's decisions, she disappeared immediately. "My puppy now, my cute puppy now. You're an irresponsible pet parent." The man went on his way. When he was about to get out of the long forest trail, he saw a moving object in the distance towards him. But when they were near each other, he found out that she was a beautiful young girl with her face covered. "What's the matter? Why are you covering your face?" asked the fisherman. The young girl continued on her way as if she did not hear the fisherman. So the man asked again, "Who are you? Why are you here? And why are you so sad?" The fisherman continued his inquiry. The young girl uncovered her face. In a low voice, she answered, "I am Betona of Belaya, and I've come here to look for my puppy. I sent my servant to look for it, but she told me that the man who found it would not give it back to her. Well, good man, I know you have my puppy. I would rather lose everything than to lose it." "It's a very cute puppy, okay?" "That puppy is dearer to me than my life. It's the only gem left to me by my mother." The fisherman saw sadness and sincerity in her words. Tears rolled down her cheeks. The man began to pity her. "Your puppy is so beautiful, so precious, what a good boy, that I wish to own it. I love it very much. So much so that I placed it inside my clothes, fearing that somebody might see and claim it." "Why would you do that? That's weird. Since you are the rightful owner, I have to give it to you. Don't cry anymore." He took the puppy out and handed it to the fairy. "Thank you. I hope someday that I can repay you." The girl spoke with gladness, and they parted. As the fisherman worked in his field, he kept thinking about the girl. "That girl is exceedingly beautiful. She is the most beautiful girl I have ever seen, but maybe not as pretty as that puppy, because it was a very cute fucking puppy," he said to himself. Beton of Belaya? And where's Belaya? Why does she walk alone in the forest? Why does she know that I have her puppy? These were the questions that troubled his mind. However, he continued working the whole day. He went home at about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. When he was in his forest, he thought of the young girl again, once again, 5 o'clock near sunset. Prime time for these creatures to come out. Suddenly, fear struck him. His head seemed to become bigger and his hair stood up. He had in his mind that the girl he met in the morning might be an engkanto, or a fairy. He was about to reach home, but still nothing unusual had happened. When he had reached home, his father-in-law was not yet in. He cooked their supper. His father-in-law arrived late. It was about 8 o'clock when they ate supper. When they were eating, the young widower related the story of the puppy and the young and beautiful girl. Also, this farmer seems nice. So he's living with his father-in-law because his wife is dead, but they're living together and they seem to be doing okay. Maybe a puppy would be the perfect thing to complete their family. Who knows? Have you seen that girl before? His father-in-law asked. No, was the short answer. Did you not ask from where she is? She told me she's from Belaya. And where is Belaya? He answered and questioned. Belaya is an answer near Maitigit. How did she happen to be here? I have not heard any sailboat coming from that place yet. She must be a fairy, the old man began to believe. Maybe she wants to make friends with you, the old man continued. Well, no harm will happen. It is not bad to have a fairy friend. After supper, they went to bed. The old man was so tired that he fell asleep immediately. The young widower could not sleep. He kept on thinking about the unsurpassed beauty of the young girl. He became a captive of the girl's charm. He slept very late that night. At 3 o'clock in the morning, he was awakened by strange music downstairs. He peeped through the window and there he saw 4 charming women, each having a string instrument, a violin, a guitar, a bass, and a banjo. The music playing was so sweet and bewitching that a heavy heart will be lightened. After playing several pieces, they began to sing. They sang love songs. After 2 hours serenading, they bade farewell. Holy shit. Siya yung hinaranahan ng fairy. This is some role reversal shit. I love it. The fairy likes him so much. He was like, here, my fairy, servants. Goes into the man. Tell him I love him. It's like, so good. Did you hear of the serenade early this morning, Tatay? The young widower inquired when they sat to eat their breakfast. No, I was sound asleep. You know I was so tired with the day's work. He then related the story. The serenading continued for several nights unnoticed by anyone except the young widower. One night after serenading, something happened. While the fisherman was lying in his bed, he heard someone call downstairs, Tagbalay! It was about midnight at that time. He did not mind the call at first. Then at the second call, he rose from his bed and opened the door. What a surprise! We stand a queen who knows what she likes, a young and beautiful woman standing downstairs. He told her to come up. The unexpected visitor went upstairs, entered the house, and went directly into the fisherman's room. He was surprised to see how the woman acted that night. He was unable to talk for several minutes. Later, he followed her. He found her sitting in the corner of her room. They were very silent at first. The woman remained motionless in the place where she sat down. I am very much ashamed before you, she began. I am the girl whom you met one afternoon while I was looking for my puppy. I believe it is very ungrateful for me not to repay you. And why do you visit at night? Why not come during the day? Inquired the fisherman. I can come during the day, but we fairies prefer to go around at night to visit friends, especially our loved ones, replied the young fairy. Loved ones? The fisherman repeated. Do you mean to say you love me? Yes, I do, the fairy meekly answered. I hope you will accept me as your wife. Siya yung nag-propose. He got a waifu. She proposed. He got a wife. Jesus Maria Jose. The fisherman uttered these words unconsciously. In a moment, the fairy disappeared. Don't talk about Jesus in front of the fairies. They might go. The young widower thought the fairy's visit had ended, but he was mistaken. The fairy kept visiting him every night. Sometimes she entered the room and lay down by the side of the man, unnoticed. Kinda creepy, but you know what? Okay. After several months, the fairy told the young widower that she was already on the family way. In due time, she gave birth. Uh-huh. Yes. After the birth of the child, the fisherman and the fairy disappeared. According to information of the fisherman's nearest relatives, Betona the fairy brought her husband to her place in the big stone near Belaya, Maitiged. The people believe that the couple are living there happily together up to this time with a child and a puppy. And that's the story of the fairy and the fisherman. The end. Our boy got himself a fairy waifu. Like, hinaranahan siya with a full ass band, and then she visited him at home, and she was like, I love her. I love her. At least someone didn't. I mean, he still got kidnapped, but I feel like at this point it was with consent. So, fair, valid, and that's the last of our folk tales about Encantos and Diwatas. Let's look for. Thank you for listening to me, and thank you for joining me for another folklore storytelling. It's been a while since I've had this. I kind of concentrated on Noli Me Tangere last month. Let's look for someone to raid. Let's look for someone to raid. Who haven't we raided in a while? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Dami nag-stream ha, grabe. Man's living the dream. I don't actually have a schedule for the next couple of days. I know that next week I'll be doing more Monster Hunter because they finally released what might be the last patch of Monster Hunter Sunbreak, or they might release something. If I remember correctly, the last update will be in June, and then we're getting a new Monster Hunter game by December, end of the year. So I need to save up for the new Monhun game. Ano kayang kanta yung kinanta nila? Ang Ganda Mo by QC. Sabak Daddy, but like the fairies the daddy. Who knows? Basically next week will probably be Monhun, Cult of the Lamb. I'm going to collab with Moshi and Mion. We're gonna play Left 4 Dead on Friday next week. Let's raid. Bakit ang dami yung nag-stream? Okay, let's raid. Dun 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 dun. Let's grade Bobby Nico VTuber Latia Strasha. I believe I found out about them from Pental. Hit Bobby Nico VTuber Pental Paragona, friend of this channel. We're going to raid their friend Latia Strasha. So let's the raid message once again. I still have yet to automate this, despite the many times that I said I would automate this. If you're subscribed, it's Magindarate with a sub emote. If you're not subscribed, it's Magindarate with a fish emote. Thank you for being here. I'll see you next time. Maya-maya muli. Paalam. I posted the wrong message. Wait. I swear I can spell. I can spell. There we go. Okay, see you next time. Maya maya muli. Paalam. Bye.